What's up, y'all? Will here at Schedulefly. This episode was really important to me personally to have this opportunity, and I'm very grateful that I got to do it. This is with Jason Smith of 18 Restaurant Group in Raleigh, North Carolina. We sat down at one of his restaurants, Cantina 18, and it was very important for me to do it there, to that specific restaurant as well. Because this is where my family went after my father's funeral service in December of 2022. My stepmother has known Jason a long time, has always spoken very highly of him. He's been a customer a long time, but I've never met him. And that was the obvious place for us to go after that service. And boy, did they step up. He wasn't even there. He didn't know we were coming. His staff just took great care of us. So much so that between that experience and the experience we had the night before the service at Bella Monica in Raleigh with Corbett Monica and his team, I recorded an episode earlier this year. It's called Great Hospitality Nourishes Your Soul. And if you want to hear the story about the night before and then the day of that service and those experiences we had, check out that short episode. But Jason has a phenomenal reputation. Every time you mention his name to somebody that knows him, they have great things to say. He's built an incredible business. He's been in the industry for a long time. He's worked for a lot of people. He had an incredible story to share about working for Danny Meyer after 9/11, and he shared that on this episode. But Jason and his team they're crushing it. They're doing great work every day. They take it very seriously. They work really hard. They provide an incredible experience to their guests day in and day out. They do so much work in the community here in Raleigh and Durham. And it was an honor and a privilege to talk to Jason. Enjoyed it very much, and you will too. But before we get to it, let me tell you about our sponsor and our Schedulefly partner, Pop Menu. Pop Menu is a phenomenal company that we have a lot of mutual customers, and they're very happy with what they're getting from Pop Menu, which is they're going to build you a new, very dynamic, very engaging website. And what they're going to do is turn your menu, which is so important, they're going to turn that into a very powerful tool that is going to help attract more people to your website through incredible SEO, search engine optimization. And it's going to keep them on your website instead of them seeing a static menu and then going off to Yelp to see what people are seeing, because they've got reviews right there on the website, which you control. So it is super cool. If you want to see an example of a Pop Menu customer, go to in their website and their menu, go to chaipani.com, CHAIPANI, chaipani.com, or you can go to bohemianbull.com. Y'all, they're going to get more people to your site. They're going to keep them on your site and off of the review sites and all that. And then they're going to give you tools to help you engage those folks once you've served them and keep them coming back. So get more people coming in, keep them on your site, and then once they become a customer, keep them coming back. Great company, and most importantly, they take great care of their customers. They get it. They understand the importance of customer service. They understand the importance of giving their customers the same hospitality that you give yours. We love Pop Menu. We think it's a great business, and our mutual customers are super happy. So check them out. There is a link in our bio, and there's a lot of other tools in there. I just scratched the surface, but check them out. And with that, here is Jason Smith of 18 Restaurant Group. More episodes coming soon. See ya. All right, we are recording, and we are here at Cantina 18, and beautiful sunny today, Raleigh, North Carolina. Jason, introduce yourself.
My name's Jason Smith, and my wife and I own Cantina 18 and Harvest 18. And I'm a Raleigh native, and I enjoy owning restaurants and cooking, and love living in Raleigh.
Okay, man. So I'll brag on y'all because, and you know this, but you know, my dad passed in December. My stepmom's a big fan of Cantina 18, and his service was right up the street here, and we got done with that, you know, my wife and my kids and cousins and everybody were like, we need to go somewhere and just decompress and have a nice meal. And it was like the obvious answer was Cantina 18. So we roll down on the set. Your staff takes phenomenal care of us. And it really, I recorded an episode talking about that because it was so, I find that it's, independent restaurants, particularly independent restaurants, are just such an important part of so many important events in our lives. In that case, it was a sad event, but your team took great care of us and made everything, we just felt so at home and so warm and welcome. But we celebrate, we celebrate positive things in independent restaurants. We meet friends we haven't seen in a long time, and I've just really developed this fond appreciation for what you and your team and your peers here in Raleigh and all around the country and all around the world that have independent restaurants do. So I just wanted to brag on you for a minute, man, because that was like an experience that we won't forget, and we've talked about it since then, and it was why I wanted very much to come and have a chance to meet you, because you weren't even here that day, and your team just flat out stepped up, man. So well done, and thank you.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and your dad was a great guy, and Nancy, as you know, is a great lady, and I appreciate y'all trusting us with such a special evening.
So, it's interesting because you need great people on your team to pull that kind of thing off, and that happens every day in restaurants. People are coming in for all kinds of things that are important to them, and to get that right on a daily basis, consistently, 365 days a year, is no small feat. You just said before we started talking, restaurants are not necessarily out of this and all that happened with the last couple of years with COVID. And you mentioned that, labor. So let's talk about that. What's on your mind with that?
So I think the labor crisis is obviously very complex, and it's going to take a lot longer, I think, to dig out of it than people have realized. I think that as restaurants were closing down and going to takeout only and kind of being forced into, laying people off, the economy clicked along and actually was growing, and people were looking and understandably found jobs in other fields, and most of those folks just aren't coming back. So it's really, you're kind of rebuilding an industry, and it's harder now. People have a different way of looking at life, and people are trying to catch up and do things they weren't able to do before. And restaurants, the tough side is it's very hard work, and it's nights and weekends oftentimes, although we take time off and definitely give people more time than they need or want, and make that opportunity there. But it's still Sunday morning to Sunday morning. I mean, and getting people to come in on Sunday or Sunday evening, or wanting to work on those days is going to be tough. And then on top of that, it's getting folks back up to speed on the consumer expectation. We have been very fortunate to have a lot of really good restaurants and a lot of talented people entering this industry, and it was continuing. Restaurants were continuing to get better and better and better. I mean, way more good restaurants than there were in definitely 1985 and 95 and 05, and consumer expectation is, I think, the same. Or even maybe even more, because you haven't gone out as much, and when you're going out, you're real excited about it, whether you know that it's that way or not, and it's understandable. I mean, if you're charging somebody the amount of money that restaurants are charging, it needs to be right, and you need to do a good job. But as you're rebuilding workforce, it's really, really tough. So it's going to be a long uphill battle for a long time to come. There's still people leaving the industry. There's so much opportunity. There's other things to do. And some people who love this industry might not necessarily love it the way it is now, or tired or burned out, or just want to do something different. So key people are still leaving, and that's hard. And, there's things that we need to do to bring people back into this industry. There's been some studies done recently, because it's so debilitating. And, a lot of the stigmas that restaurants have that are negative were true, but they were true a long time ago, and they're not as widespread as they once were. So I think that's getting that message across. Like, this is a good way to make a living. It's a great way to. It's a great industry that you can morph into being a business owner. It does happen. And there's a lot of industries out there right now where you just won't ever own a business like that. You're going to be working for it. If you go to work at the hospital, you're never going to own a hospital. There's industries one after the other similar to that. So I love the entrepreneurial side of it. I love seeing young people work at my restaurants or other ones and come eventually, get to experience what that feeling of being an entrepreneur is like. And there's not a lot of places left in the world where, a goofball like me can do what I do and then end up owning my own business someday. And that's kind of something I don't take for granted. So,
have you always had an entrepreneurial spirit, or did you recognize it as you started out working for other people and realize, or did you always want to own your own place?
No, I knew. Well, I think I wanted, as I was working for other people, I enjoyed seeing independent operators. I worked for Brad Hurley at the Oyster Bar when I was 19, 20, and 21, and I got a great opportunity to work for Ben and Karen Barker at Magnolia Grill, and I mean, they are great entrepreneurs and very creative, and I got to see like how Ben and Karen, were able to shape their menu and do their thing, their art, which was really neat. And all of that was very exciting to me. And I wanted to try to get, to do, try to have some type of risk and financial freedom and decide what I could and couldn't do based on, as long as customers are happy. So, yeah, it was what I wanted to do. The turning point was when I was in Charleston at the Peninsula Grill, and I was probably, I think at that point, 30 or 31, and I knew. And I was a line cook still. I'd done some sous chef jobs, but at that gig, I was just working saute every night, which was great. And I knew I kind of wanted to either go do my own thing at that point, or I was going to figure out something else to do. And luckily, I was able to find an investor in a space in Raleigh and open 18 Seaboard, and we signed the lease in 05 and got it opened in 06. And, I love being an independent operator and getting to do kind of our thing, and luckily we've got a lot of support from the community and people like our restaurants and come again and again, and it's been kind of a cool thing. And like I said earlier, it's not something I take for granted. It's a privilege.
Oh man, I love that. It really is. You opened 18 Seaboard, and then you closed that in what, 18? Is that right?
We the shopping center, Seaboard Station, was bought by a great company out of D.C., and they had some bigger plans, and they bought our lease out in 2019, in the summer of 2019, and we did this really cool, 30-day announcement, and let the community know, and on this date we were closing, and the management team and myself and the kitchen, I was getting paid a little bit of money, so I was able to incentivize everybody to stay, which was the fair thing to do, and everybody worked to the very last day, the last guest, and it was kind of a neat thing because it's not often, you get to close a restaurant on your terms or in a way like that. It was kind of taking a victory lap, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was cool, and then the other blessing was I didn't have to deal with that during, COVID. I had 3 restaurants when COVID hit, and I was able to focus heavily on Cantina here in the village and Harvest, and able to get those 2 on the other side of it. There was another Cantina in Cary, Morrisville, and when we got Cantina open first and Harvest, and things were feeling kind of wonky, and I was realizing quickly they were not. It was harder. We weren't, we were not anywhere near the other side of this thing, and we just ended up letting the other Cantina go. Hindsight, I probably could have made it work, but who knew at the moment? And I've got 2 now, and 2's good. So
2 feels right for you and what you want to accomplish.
One would be easier, but 2 will be fine for now. So yeah, 2's good. I don't think we want to do anything else right now. I'm not ever turning away the idea of reopening an 18 Seaboard, but if I did it, I want to do it at the right time, and we're just not quite there on the right time.
Boy, that place had a wonderful reputation, my friend, as you know. Very highly regarded place, and what a great story. I didn't know that was how that wound down. So okay,
yeah, it worked out pretty good. It wasn't plan A, but it was a good plan B, and it was it all kind of worked out. And I do miss owning and operating that place, but we'll see. We'll just have to see where it goes.
You mentioned that some people, earlier we were talking about staff, and you said some people that even love the industry have, taken a different approach maybe and are considering different things or have left. Why do you love this industry?
I like the entrepreneur side. I like being able to, the creative side, and I also like the interacting with people. And I've always found in my career the times that I'm working on things that I'm good at and I get better at things that I'm good at, that's when my businesses actually get better. There's always things that you can hone in on that you're not doing right, and you do need to focus on that too, but the things that you get better at is that you like, I think your business can get a bigger return from that energy. And the interacting with people is probably the number one thing, whether it's my purveyors, my coworkers, other people in the business, or interaction with the guests. I've really enjoyed that. People interact differently now than they did when I got in this 10 years ago. You have to lead, or 20 years ago or whenever, and you've got to lead differently now for sure. And I've, coming out of COVID, I was like, what worked for me when I was 20 isn't going to work for somebody who's 20 now or 30 or 40. And
give me an example of that. What do you mean?
I think it's probably better right now to talk to the group and not an individual. Hey, here's how we're going to do this. Here's a quicker way to do this.
Okay.
People, and
you don't want to single people out?
Man, I got singled out. It worked really well, but we're not in a single out people.
We're not in a
era.
single out.
No,
Okay.
we're not in a single out area.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times of that you still need to single somebody out, but there's a way to lift the group up. And, another example of that is leading by example. I think
Yes,
that's
sir.
real important. I think, a good, the phone is, and the internet was supposed to be this great thing that enhanced everybody's life. It's kind of this thing. I'm not sure where it's going to take us to. And man, they are extremely addicting, and they're really hard not to look at. And trying to get people to not look at their phone while they're here is not realistic and working. But getting them to check their phone when a guest can't see them is different than being on their phone when a guest sees them. So there's things that I'm doing and trying to package up to explain to them. And hey, man, my phone's in the office. I'm going to go check my phone. My daughter knows to call the restaurant if there's a code red emergency. It's not realistic that I'm not going to look at my phone for 2 hours. But, being on my phone and checking my phone are two different things. So that's like an example. I'm just trying to think of ways that I can connect and we can achieve our goals with whatever's in, obstacles are laid out in front of us. And the phone's an obstacle.
Man, isn't it wild? Like, I mean, imagine like back in the day, like if you even got a call at work, it's like, dude, somebody's freaking calling you while you're working. And then now it's
Don't they know you're at work?
Yeah, now you can't even be like, no phones at work. Like people won't work for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah,
man.
no, it's not. Well, dude, okay.
And I'm not saying it's perfect. I mean, but if you're the 49-year-old guy trying not to get people to look at their phone, you need to not be looking at your phone.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. And, a lot of it, people are talking. I'm not saying I'm some perfect leader by any means, but my goal is to be the leader I need to be during this time. And if I really get upset when I hear people talking about young people don't know how to work and this and that. Man, I got some of the greatest young people working in my restaurants right now. Nobody's perfect, but man, these people want to learn. They're in here hustling. They're sweating. They're here on Sunday morning. They're here Sunday evening, Saturdays. And, sometimes I think that person who's like just going nuts that young people don't know how to work, I think maybe they need to look at themselves and think, are you leading these people into how to do things? And it's not going to be an overnight. So, that's kind of how some examples of what I'm trying to do, but by no means am I perfect. And I mean, everybody's got their days, But my goal coming out of the pandemic was, how can I be the best person to lead during this thing? And the, a funny thing that happened to me, I was lucky. I worked at, in New York City. I got an opportunity to work for a great restaurateur named Danny Meyer. And he's
setting the table.
Yeah. And when I worked for him, he had 4 restaurants: Gramercy, Union Square, 11 Madison, and Tabla. And he's the Shake Shack guy. He wrote the book Setting the Table. That guy Jim Cramer on Squawk Box claims it's the best business book ever written. It's a great read. He helped start up Open Table. He's got all this stuff, and he's just a great dude. And I was in New York City when 9/11 happened, and I got to kind of watch the way he handled it. The proximity of his restaurants were okay. They weren't where it was closed off immediately, thank goodness. But they were close enough, and I got to kind of watch the way he did things. And I remember the day that everything got shut down. I was thinking, man, I will do. I've got a lot of experience. I've seen things that I'm at a point in my life, in my career, and I got to see Danny, what he did 2 weeks. I mean, he kind of kicked butt for 2 weeks and did what he had to do, and things all of a sudden were kind of back to normal within 2 weeks. And I was like, all right, we'll just kind of do what we need to do, knock out these 2 weeks, and before long, things will be back to normal. But it wasn't quite 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to interact and see things go the way that I needed them to go. So
why are you emotional right now?
Just it's thinking about those moments when you were like trying to lean on the situation that you were in, and trying to grow those experiences. So looking back on those moments, man, it was kind of crazy. So
what a great experience for you to learn. I mean, dude, you're oozing passion for this industry, and the memories of that experience, and you saw a leader who took charge and did what you're talking about and led by example, and it's clear that you got so much from him and through osmosis. And man, I got some chills myself, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was tough. I mean, it was tricky.
I can't even imagine owning restaurants in New York during that time, and then I can't imagine owning restaurants during COVID. And I have so much profound respect for what y'all do. It's interesting, Jason. There's I don't know I can't remember where the quote's from, and I'm not going to get it right 100%, but there's this really cool quote about leading and getting people to do what you need them to do. And it's, if you want to build a ship, don't send people out into the woods to cut down trees and make timber. Help them learn to yearn for the vastness and greatness of the sea.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you've been hinting at, is like, you lead by example, not by singling people out. Don't use your phone, do this, don't do that. You said this, and it's what I've always felt. I have 3 kids, and I talk to them about this too. It's like, man, the restaurant business to me is there's so much meritocracy here. It doesn't matter where you went to school. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. What matters is, do you want to show up and bust it with your team and try to make people have a wonderful experience in the establishment while you're there? And if you're so inclined, do you want to learn from others and great leaders and then go build, get people to help you build your own ship one day? Because you can. It's what you talked about. You flat out can in this industry if that's what you want to do. And there are barely any industries where you really can pull this collection of very diverse people together and as a unit do something special in your community, which is what y'all are doing here in the Raleigh community and what so many great restaurants do in their communities, and then give people this path and help them yearn for the vastness of the sea, help them yearn to be a business owner one day. And then you see them come through here, and then somebody like you, I mean, Danny Myers, they talk about in in the NFL, like the coaching family tree, like Bill Parcells had all these great coaches that are like Belichick and all these folks that came from him. Like, great restaurant owners do that too, and then they have people that leave and go on, and he's got this great family tree, and you're a part of that, and now you're doing that. It's just a really cool cycle, and it's a really amazing story and something very special to be a part of, which is why you get emotional thinking about it, which is just, dude, it's awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, the independent full-service restaurant is in a kind of a really awkward spot right now, and it's going to get a little harder before it gets easier. And people like Danny that have kind of set people, on the right path, it definitely jumped some leaps and bounds. And I've got young people here. I mean, I got a guy who's a 23-year-old manager, NC State grad. He's been managing for I think he's going to go to Charleston in June. And to think, man, at 23, he's had 2 years here at Cantina. Man, that's such a leap and bound ahead of where I was at that age.
Oh, gosh.
And I remember people saying that to me, like Ben Barker, like, man, there was no Ben Barker for me to work with when I was 25. I mean, you're so far ahead of where I was at that point, and it's kind of cool to see that happening now, and drawing people back into this industry and wanting them to try to be a part of something like that is something that all the restaurant community needs to be focused on. And it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's there's been just a lot of setbacks. The good thing is customers are out. This seems like people are spending money like there's no tomorrow still. I know. It's unbelievable. I know. It's crazy. I mean, I thought that it was going to be the opposite. I mean, I definitely misforecasted a lot of things along this, or just didn't quite know. I mean, and I don't think the greatest economists in the world right now really know what it is, the answer.
The
to all this
opposite of what they keep saying is happening.
It feels that way. Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, so far. And I mean, there could be a giant downturn, and I know the stock market isn't where everybody wants it to be, but the day-to-day consumer spending has not slowed down. And it's not just in Raleigh. It's other areas I go to. And I understand that poor people or people that are struggling worse than they were before. But, in 2008, when the big recession hit, 2007, we had just opened Seaboard, and man, we were nimble. We made some quick decisions. We undercut our competition, which was, big national steakhouses. We hired like these A players that were coming in because they were getting laid off from, like national branded restaurants. And these people had, lots of experience.
Yeah.
And, we kind of, I put these dishes on the Seaboard menu that felt like a great value because there were still people spending money. They just weren't going to go out and spend $100 a head, to take a client out, because either they weren't able to do it or the client was struggling and it wasn't good optics to the client. This is the opposite, man. You put an appetizer on, people are walking in, you're like, hey man, Mr. So-and-so, I got a new appetizer. Like, bring one over to the table. Can't wait to try it. I mean, it has been bizarre. I think at the beginning it was because people hadn't been out and they wanted to go out and they wanted to spend more and they wanted to help the restaurants out. But I think now it's just, hey man, things are clicking and life is short and I want to enjoy it myself and I trust this place and let's see what they got going on. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen. And it's not every shift. I mean, we've got some slow shifts, but here and there, I mean, it keeps you humble, but it's the January I just had was the best January we've ever had in our lives.
Dude, I literally did a podcast in Greenville, South Carolina yesterday, and the guy told me the exact same thing. He's like, I don't know how to budget for 2023. 2022 was our best year ever, and I don't even know, like, do I think I'm going to, like, and then we had the best January ever, and he's like, I don't get it.
Yeah, and the 2 Januaries before were awful. I mean, one of them, the vaccine wasn't fully out, so no one was out. And then the second one is when the Omicron came out, and everybody, even if you weren't afraid of COVID, you either had gotten it or you knew somebody that had it. And I don't care what you said, it did change your mindset a little bit, and it was awful. I mean, we lost a ton of money last January, and we were kind of busy prior to that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, hey, let's lay people off. And then once Valentine's Day, we picked back up, but it was a big minus going into 22. But there's still major pitfalls, and I mean, I can get into this thing. There's stuff that is, this is probably longer the question or story than anybody wants to hear. But I mean, an example is in 2019, the ice machine I have, the part would have been about, and it reinstalled when it broke down would have been about $500. Well, they can't get enough parts to build machines. So the parts of the machine aren't just up from inflation. They're up to cover about what a new machine would cost. So now a $2,800 machine might be a $1,400, $1,600 repair because the part's so high. Well, I've got a 12-year-old machine. I'm not going to spend $1,600 when I can get a new one for $2,600 because the compressor could go out or another big part could go out. So now what would have been in 2019 $500 is $2,600.
Holy crap.
So those are things that there's no handbook for right now. And small businesses, when you're hitting up against those things, we're busy, but we're not in the clear of this thing. There's stuff that we don't even know about probably coming. I mean, I don't know. And it's not the end of the world. It won't put a place out of business, but it definitely is a game changer. And all of that, too, is going to require 10 hours maybe of my time interacting with the ice machine repair guy, the company, them calling me back. Now I got to spec a new machine. Before it would have been the repair guy comes, you need X, boom, let's put it on, bam, $500 out the door. Jason's rolling along. So I mean, it's the nuances are definitely very complicated. Is there going to be a backup of ice machines for the next 5 years? Who the heck knows? I don't know. I mean, nobody knows. I mean, the parts come from China. The machines are assembled, all of them in Mexico. They got plenty of people assembling in Mexico. They just don't have enough parts. I mean, it's kind of hard to make it up.
Yeah, it's freaking wild.
It is wild. It is. And, you got a $3,000 change instead of a $500 change plus 10 hours of time. It's exhausting.
You're allowed to laugh at this. So when you were talking about the iPhones and how addicting they are, 2.5 years ago, I walked into the Verizon store. I had like an iPhone 11 at the time or whatever was around then. And I was like, man, I don't want this thing anymore. Can you give me a flip phone?
I saw it. I know. I know. I like the flip phones. I might go back.
Dude, I tell you, man, what's so great about it is there's just not like there's nothing to look at, right? So it took me a while to get used to it because you're just so used to but then you can't carry on these long text conversations, like people send these long texts and it's all this stuff because I have to go AAA to get a seat, 111. So anyway, but you're not going to get my kids. I have 3 kids. They laugh at me. They're like, dude, come on, man, freaking flip phone. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm present. I'm not thinking about it. It's not in the back of my mind. I want to grab that phone that's in my pocket right now. I talk more on the phone. I get it. It's old school and I'm 48 too. I'm not, I get it, but it is an interesting thing. I think people, the funny thing is I can't tell you how many people, even these college students at Beach Mountain, I rode up the ski lift a couple weeks ago and these 2 girls were, they go to App State, they're 20. And I got a call on my phone. And I was talking. I got done. They're like, "Dude, you have a flip phone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'm old." They're like, "No, that's badass. Where do I get?" And I get these comments. I think people realize it. They get it. They don't want to be so addicted to these things, but they don't. There's just no alternative. And I think the manufacturers, I know Samsung has a flip. I bet Apple will eventually come on board because people are starting to realize, it's this little dopamine stacking where you're just getting these little hits, nonstop.
Yeah.
And then it's like a drug, you need more and more and more. And then, and people get it. They know, this isn't good. But if you have it, you can't. It's I'm a drug addict and I got crack in my hand. I'm going to take it. But I know I don't need it, and I need a way out. And so I think things will move. I hope they'll move back more in the right direction from that. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. I'm just hopeful.
I think people are more in tune that these things are not the best thing for you, and it's very hard to control. And, when everyone was told to, stay home, and I mean, people went home and started watching some of the worst stuff that has ever been produced for mankind. And it was hours and hours and hours, whether it was Tiger King or some videos or whatever. And now we're here we all are interacting again after, months or years or whatever you did of some of the worst garbage ever produced getting shot at you. And if this will make me sound old, if everybody was told to go home and watch Andy Griffith for an hour a day, I think we'd be in a little different spot than where we're at right now. But that's not where we are. So I mean, we gotta be mindful of that. And that stuff it's interesting and entertaining, and it can suck you in. It's just day after day of it, and it's the political stuff too. You don't need to know every commentator. I mean, I don't think we need to know everything that's going on all the time. I mean, we need to have access to it, and we don't need to know everybody's opinion of it, and they don't even know what they're talking about half the time. And I think people are realizing that as well.
I agree.
We're not getting like a news broadcaster telling us stuff. We got a commentator who is very charismatic and interesting, whether it's the side you like or don't like. And, that's, I think, we realize, man, this isn't news. This is entertainment, and we got to figure out where we're getting our real information from. And the political side of this thing has been interesting for me because we were very fortunate with the Restaurant Association. I'll switch gears. Lynn Minges with the North Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association did a great job interacting with our elected officials, and was really able to get plans together to get us back open and to try to do it the right way and mindful way and so on and so on. And a way that we weren't as liable, a way that we could do it the best we could, got NC State involved. And coming out of that and watching the way she and the NCRLA and the speaker and the governor and Secretary of Health and Human Resources were all interacting and trying to get plans together and responsive and wanting to help the business owners and the employees, that it's made me more mindful of how to do things politically and gotten more involved with the Restaurant Association. And one of my goals is not as important as it was with the getting it reopened and getting open safely, was is trying to leave this thing better than I found it. And a big part in our state is the way the antiquated ABC system works. And we've made some great headway, and we're going to make more good headway. And the brunch bill before the pandemic was pretty amazing, and there's just stuff that we're far behind on with the ABC. It's an area that I think that can really make it easier for restaurateurs and bars and hotels to operate. And it's also will end up being better for even every citizen. The way the system is right now, whether you're a drinker or not, the way the system is right now is there's improvements that can be made that will make it better for the taxpayer and the state in a whole. And the folks, all the folks involved with the NCABC, they see the changes that need to happen, and the folks in the General Assembly definitely do. It's been kind of neat to see them. It's a thing that they, you can get both of them to approve on, to agree on. I mean, the brunch bill, I mean, it went through. I mean, there was only a couple nays in the whole House with it, and that was kind of neat to see, to get all these guys to agree on something.
What was the brunch bill?
We were not allowed to serve alcohol until afternoon on Sundays, and it was a tricky thing because you got people having brunch at your restaurant at 11:30, and you kind of were waiting, and then right at noon you would try to make the drinks and get them all to the table, and you didn't want to miss the sales. I mean, we looked like a bunch of hillbillies, people from out of state. I mean, we're a state with lots of diverse travel and industries.
A lot of people moving here from a lot of other states that don't have that.
And wanting to do business and plant their flag here, and it looks, some of the laws are just, they were passed in the late 70s, and they, our liquor by the drink is what it was. And then after it had to be passed in each municipality or county.
It's like 120 something. Something crazy like that, isn't it? 140 something? Yeah.
No, it's 170.
170.
It's unbelievable.
So and each one has their own little fiefdom, so you have to go to each county.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one because that's a lot of people that are going to lose power if we can, but yeah, anyway.
I'm not saying that that privatization is the number one. What I'm saying is modernization.
I agree 100%.
I'm not. I just know, I'm just one little dude, and I can see things that will be better and can be better. And also, they need to be held to to a similar accountability as other. If they're going to run a monopoly, they got to make it better for us. They can't. One of the big things that we got passed is, I don't know if you know this, but every license holder that serves on premise, so spirit, not beer and wine. So every bar, hotel, restaurant has to go pick up their spirits after they've made the order online at the designated spot that they're told by the commission.
Yeah.
So we're driving our vehicles over. We're putting this liquor in the back of our cars, and then we're driving it back to our restaurants. And that's everywhere statewide, all 100 counties. And can you imagine ordering something from Amazon and them saying, "Cool, come get it from the warehouse"?
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, that's not where we're at anymore, and they know that, and it's not really control. I mean, we don't need all. I mean, I sometimes go pick up $4,000 worth of liquor, and I'm driving around my car. I mean, it's the only way to get it to and from. So
imagine the number of miles driven. There's so many reasons to do that.
So many reasons to sit, and so we passed a bill that was able to. They need to provide. They need to provide delivery service, and the bill obviously wasn't quite as good as it needed to be, so they are able to charge. So here at the Wake County ABC, it's a $150 delivery fee. Well, I'm picking up once a week minimum. We're not going to drop $8,000 a year on them delivering this. So again, let's put this in the Amazon. Can you imagine ordering something from Amazon and then go, "Cool, we'll deliver it. It's going to be $150. Well, the reason they don't do that is because they're not operating under a monopoly. So we're going to have to keep working on making it better for the people behind me. We don't, as we're luring people or enticing people or wanting people to get back in the industry. I mean, my manager at Seaboard was a lady in her 30s who looked very presentable, and here she is in July going to pick up 15 cases of liquor, putting in the back of her little Hyundai or whatever, then lugging it into the restaurant. It's unbelievable. It's not the end of the world, but it's not right.
Do you know Scott Maitland at Top of the Hill?
Oh yeah,
Chapel Hill?
Yeah,
he's been all over that.
Yeah,
for a long
he's doing
time.
a great job. Well, the good thing is now more than ever, public opinion is swaying, and they realize, man, we gotta. Our restaurants and bars are part of the community. It's a big part of the real estate. It's a big part of people moving here. We need to make things better for them. The ABC people at the warehouse, they don't want us coming to pick it up. It's harder for them. They got to wheel it out. There's a much better way for everybody. The employees don't want it. The customers don't want it. The voters don't want it. They don't want me having to go do that. I mean, and it's just. But the problem is, you got to get a law passed. You got to go through. And the General Assembly doesn't want it. No lawmaker wants us. I could ask every lawmaker. None of them are going to say, "Jason, I want you to go pick up your liquor." I mean, they don't even know, a lot of them.
Right.
So these changes need to happen. And if you're a person that's not for these changes, you need to really understand why that is and make that known. Is it for greed? Is it because you won't sell something different than a spirit? You need to ask that question to yourself, because that's not the best thing for your state.
Yeah.
So, that's something I want to really kind of help make better and make better for the people that are coming in behind me. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it is something that's not right. It's not fair, and it's not fair for the employees at the ABC warehouses. It's not fair for anybody. And there needs to be a centralized system that keeps track of all the bottles, so it's 100% accountable. A business isn't 100% accountable if every penny isn't 100% accounted for. A business is 100% legit if every penny isn't 100% accounted for. Well, that's how it needs to be with the spirits. And then if one commission has something that's not moving and we want it, then maybe we can go get it from there. And once the commissions have the spirit from the centralized North Carolina warehouse, man, there's just not a lot of accountability from there. We don't know where it is or how, so that, there's little nuances like that we need to step into 2023 on. And
amen.
Yeah, 1978 was 1978. We can't change that. What the deal that those guys accepted, they were desperate to get it done. And the lawmakers wanted to get it done, and they did that, and I commend them for that. It was a big step. I'm glad I wasn't a part of that, because it was even harder than what we got to do now. Now it's just house cleaning.
Yeah.
This is easy. Everybody wants to make it better, Everybody's a capitalist. The system is not, but we can make it more like a capitalist system.
Love it, man. I love it, dude. You got a lot of passion for that. I like that. We need to get this episode out in front of the folks that make these decisions for sure. I want to be very respectful of your time because we said we do 30 and it's been 40. So let's wrap it up.
Cool.
Because I know you're a busy dude.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you, man.
Got it, Will.
Thank
My pleasure,
you for doing
brother.
this.
Yeah,
thank you
man.
for the business. Thank you for, again, providing a very, to your team, providing a very memorable experience to our family that we won't forget at an important time. So.
You got to give Schedule Fly a shout out too, man. So, I mean, you guys got that thing dialed in. It saves us time, and it's working good for us, man. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate you very much. Well, that is a wrap, y'all. More episodes coming soon. Stay tuned.
Cool.
We're out.
Appreciate.